Happy Friday and pay-per-view fight week, degenerate gamblers. It's UFC 305, and we are back with the Sharp Action Report. My guy Andrew from Superbook Sports is coming in here. We're going to talk through the notable public sharp whatever action we've got. And this is less of a breakdown show, more of an informational show for you guys. Do us a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe here to Home of Fight if you would. And my guy, how you doing today? What's going on?
Dude, I'm really looking forward to this card. It's been an interesting transition over here at the Superbook there's been a lot of changes lately, but one thing I do know is we've been taking some big bets on the UFC, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card, man.
Hell yeah, man. This is going to be an absolute banger of a card. I cannot wait for this one. I hope everybody in the chat is doing well. We are going to get right down to it. First fight of the evening, you've got UFC newcomer Stuart Nickel. He's taking on Jesus Aguilar, and we've got the chalk favorite here, the newcomer Nickel. Man, this is one of those ones that's tough. I get it. I'm picking Nickel to win too. I like the kid's grappling, but he's untested. He hasn't even fought on the best regional scene where he's from. Now he's jumping into the UFC, and he's a $2 favorite. What's going on here?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it in the back a little bit with the last few weeks of the favorite success. So you can kind of see it in some of these lines. The favorites have kind of been juiced up a little bit for sure. But with this one in specific, we opened Nicole at 135. So this one has moved quite a bit, like you said. But right when we opened it, we did get a pretty respected bet right at 135. We kept moving it up and trying to write money on the dog. And we took another big sharp action bet at 170. So really it's been trying to get the book in the best situation. And to be honest, it just wasn't the right line from the opening. And it's been kind of tough to write that money. But, you know, as of now, we need Nickel. And we've been aggressive to get there. That customer that bet that, he's pretty new with us. And he's mentioned himself a couple times on Twitter. I don't know what nickname we're giving him, but he's been really awesome since he's been betting with us. And we're looking to need his side here.
I believe that would be Dagestani Poppy that we are referring to. So got to tell you guys, usually when it comes to these types of situations, you know, you don't want to give out the info. You don't want to name the person who's causing ruckus at the book. We call the big guy for a reason. Nobody knows who he is. Well, Dagestani Poppy went ahead and put some tickets out there on Twitter. Everybody's seen, everybody knows. So he's one of the people making some of these lines move over at Superbook Sports. So you're saying that he came in early on the newcomer here, Stuart Nickel, it sounds like?
Yeah, and we've been pretty aggressive to need that side. Like you said, it's a tough one because you would think this line would be closer with the unknown variable of how this guy's going to be in the UFC, but we're looking to need that side. We know the parlays are going to be heavy tomorrow, so we've been real good about trying to get ahead of the favorite movement in some of these fights for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I like it. All right. Shout out Dagestani Poppy. You guys tag him in the video if you see him online. Song Kanan up next, taking on Ricky Glenn. We've got another $2 favorite here, man. Ricky Glenn moving up a weight class, it looks like, very late in his career. I'm never a fan of people shifting weight classes late in their career, but I would rather it be up than down, frankly. Do you guys have any type of notable action on this fight?
Yeah, this is another one. We got some early notable action on this one, and we weren't too aggressive because the respected bet did come in on Ricky Glenn, and like I said, we know that favorite money is coming in, but we've put ourselves in a good position to need that side based off of the better who bet it. He came in and bet Glenn at plus 170. The price did get as low as 145 on the favorite. So you can kind of see the numbers working its way back up a little bit, which is a little concerning. So we opened this thing at 250, and like I said, it got as low as 145. We're currently sitting 180 now in Vegas. But this is one we feel good about the dog having a chance. I know I saw on Twitter earlier, they said that the short turnaround on the rehydration or the weigh-ins. I don't know if that's fully true. I haven't heard anything about that. Somebody call me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So for anybody wondering, it looks like this pay-per-view is normal fight time. We're getting our normal Saturday time slot for these fights. However, the weigh-ins would usually be going on and or wrapped by now, at least the early weigh-ins, and then they do the ceremonials. Today, for God knows what reason, they're doing the weigh-ins, and then the ceremonials immediately after. So these fighters have not made weight yet. They have not gotten in there. So the time to rehydrate, that window is going to be a whole heck of a lot shorter for this particular fight card. And you never know. Some people, that's going to absolutely mess up. People with tough weight cuts, people that are cutting a lot of weight, those guys are probably going to suffer a whole heck of a lot more on this particular card than some of the other fighters we've seen in the past. I mean, I can only imagine what Islam Makhachev would look like if he only had half the time to go ahead and rehydrate after that weight cut. So it's going to change things up here for sure.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Song Kanan is going down a weight class. So that could be a variable.
I will correct you. You are wrong.
Okay, I thought he was going down a
Ricky Glenn is coming up from 155 to 170, and there's speculation that it might be his last fight in the UFC, and he just kind of doesn't really care about it one way or the other. Last paycheck on your way out the door. Song is doing his same old here in this spot. So yeah, $2 favorite makes some sense here to me, I think, on Song.
Yeah, and like you said, the price is kind of moving back in that direction. So we weren't too crazy, but it is nice, like I said, to have some respected action on the dog here. We're gonna the streak of the favorites has to come to an end at some point, and we're hoping some of these big favorites maybe get knocked this week. So yeah, I apologize for being wrong about that, but yeah, with the weight stuff, there might be a variable in some of the betting this week for sure.
It's going to get crazy, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. Thankfully, this is not a Dagestani card, right? This is not a card full of these murderers that are just grapple heavy monsters. There's only one really that I can think about. So, I'm not sure who is going to get affected. It's going to be interesting to watch these guys at ceremonials and see just how messed up some of them might actually be. It'll be interesting. Definitely something to keep your eyes on. Next up, we've got Tom Nolan, the biggest favorite on the card, taking on Alex Reyes. Tom is a 12-1 favorite. Make it make sense, man. What's going on here?
Yeah, this is a tough one because as a bookie, you kind of just have to move the line until you get some resistance. And so far, there hasn't been much resistance in this fight. Like you said, it kind of has gone out of control. We opened at $9. We're actually sitting $14 here in Vegas. So there's not really much you can do until you see that action on the other side, right? I mean, if people are just going to keep throwing this in parlays, you kind of got to do what you got to do, which is not always the best thing because it does give an advantage to sharp players who know when value is enough. And you do get these big plays day of on a guy like maybe Alex Reyes that they're just waiting for this number to peak and then you get hammered on it. So there's a little bit of trying to balance that out. But as of now, there hasn't been much resistance on Reyes. And that's kind of why I think if you look at the market, you've just seen this price inflate pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, man. I'm one of the crazy SOBs that actually think Alex Reyes is capable of landing a right hand on Tom Nolan. And hey, we were just talking about the weight issues. If there is a problem with these larger folks, Tom Nolan's going to be one of these guys that probably sacrifices something to make weight here for this fight.
Yeah. And at an 8-1 shot, I don't hate it. At some point, there has to be a shot to take.
It's 1, man. I think the round 1 KO prop is like 30-1 or something like that. I mean, it wouldn't be a large investment by any stretch of the imagination, but those numbers are absolutely insane. I want to watch these weigh-ins though. We'll see. I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Hear you.
All right, guys. Jack Jenkins taking on Herbert Burns, everybody's favorite this week, man. And I get it. Herbert just kind of looks checked out. You know what I mean? 2 fights ago, he got carried out of the cage by his brother, and then he came back and he pulled the exact same shenanigans in the next fight. We kind of thought if there was a prove it spot, it would be his last one. He still went out in round 2 like he does always. You know, it used to be death taxes and Holly Holm by decision. It's death taxes and round 2 L for Herbert Burns. I'm expecting Jack Jenkins to be able to pass this test, but he has been submitted a couple times before. We can't omit that. So doesn't seem to be stopping people though here at the window getting to Jack Jenkins.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. The last fight and this one are probably the worst in the sense of getting any resistance for us so far this week. We opened Jack Jenkins at 450. It's currently sitting 850. I don't really have much to report on the actual fight other than Jack Jenkins is getting thrown in a bunch of parlays, and we understand that's what it's going to be. And it's been more crazy the last few weeks just because people have been hitting some massive parlays.
Oh, they're free rolling. They're free rolling. They got all that extra cash jingling.
So, I mean, I absolutely understand. I do think that before this price got to this situation, I understood it. Like, Jack Jenkins should be the side, like you said. Herbert Burns doesn't look too invested, but anything can happen. And if this price keeps going up, maybe we will get some respected action. The most notable bet I have for this fight would be on the under, but it is 1.5. So it's an interesting one. We'll see if maybe Herbert Burns can tough it out through the second round. But yeah, that's probably the most notable bet we have on this fight so far.
Okay. Makes sense to me, man. Makes sense to me. Next up, you've got Casey O'Neill, King Casey, taking on Luana Santos, who is filling in here on short notice. I cannot wait to hear what you've got to say about this fight because I do have something in pocket here.
Yeah, this is a fun one too because I know some of the offshores books opened up Casey O'Neill as a favorite, and this line has really kind of bounced around. When we put this card up over a month ago, we had Santos at minus 170. It's come down a little bit since then, and we're sitting 140. There has been surprisingly good opinion on both sides. Nothing too notable, but there's been a decent amount of action on both sides. Currently, we need Casey O'Neill. I don't have, like I said, I don't have too much to report with respected wagers, but right now the book needs Casey O'Neill. And
okay. Hey, I don't mind being there with you on that one because I bet King Casey, man. I'm in on Casey O'Neill this week. So we can both celebrate a little bit together here on this one, hopefully, when she comes through. Joshua Kalibau and Ricardo Ramos, another very competitive line here on this one with a little bit of movement. Ricardo Ramos looks like he's kind of come down a lot this week. And he started off, I think I saw a plus 170 out there at one point, and I'm looking at about plus 120 market wide now. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, we opened up Calibao at 160. It has come down a little bit. We're sitting 135. We actually have gotten some good action on Ricardo Ramos this week. So I think that's kind of why you see the market coming down. This is another one kind of just like the last fight. It's been an easy one to kind of balance the books because the line movement hasn't been too crazy and there is action on both sides. So right now, we need the favorite. That's where we sit currently. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if that changed by tomorrow with the way people are betting the favorites. But yeah, we need the favorite currently.
Okay. All right. You know, this is a spot where I am tempted to buy low on the Kalibau side here. I haven't moved in yet because it just keeps on coming down. I know a lot of sharp people are on Ramos, but the closer this thing gets to pick them without actually flipping, the more I think the books are okay with leaving Josh Kalibau as a short favorite here. So that's the side that I'm kind of looking at. Have not gotten to a trigger yet, but I'd definitely be looking to buy low once this thing shortens all the way out. Junior Tafa comes back against Walter Walker, the ugliest fight on this entire card, man. One that I was tempted on betting, and then I was like, you know what? Like, there's great fights all over this whole card. Hell, there's better fights than this in the PFL this afternoon. Why am I putting my money on this particular fight? So I'm off it. I'm out. Don't count me in on this one. But I'm very curious what you guys have seen from an action standpoint.
Yeah, this is one that's moved quite a bit. I feel like another one where we're getting decent action and there's opinions on both sides. Junior Tafa opened up at as a small dog, minus 105. He is now currently sitting minus 135. So I would say as we've moved this thing up, people have been more tempted to take shots on Walker, which is nice to see because I like to put ourselves in situation going into day of where we need most of these favorites because I've just kind of seen how this thing plays out as the week goes on. And as of now, we need Junior Tafa, and people have been betting Walker more as this thing's inched his way up.
Interesting. Okay. All right. You people are crazy for that one. The Leech returns taking on Carlos Prates. Now, this one I'm having a hard time with, man. I'm having a real hard time because I've faded Carlos Prates in back-to-back fights. This is a massive step up in competition, and yet this is when his line is absolutely blown out. I was not convinced in his last couple of fights. Everybody is convinced now. He's a minus 350 favorite. If there was ever a spot to pull the trigger against him, it would be on the Leech here. But that number just keeps going up, and I'm sitting here killing myself because I'm like, I can't do it. I can't lose money trying to fade Carlos Prates again, man. Tell me what's happening as far as the action goes on this one. I need to know if there's sharps on one side or the other.
Yeah, I wouldn't say as much here at this book, but 100%. If we open this thing at 250, it's sitting 380 here. So, I mean, just reading the market, it clearly looks like there is some respected money on that side for sure. Yeah. And this is another one. I hate to be repetitive, but I'm doing my best to try to get out ahead of the favorite movement until we get some resistance. So there hasn't been anything too crazy, but I'm waiting to see a bet on the Leech before we start knocking this thing back down. And I do, like, the last few weeks, we've had some very sharp customers come in day of and make large wagers on some of these dogs. It hasn't paid off for these guys because these favorites have been rolling the last few weeks. But we're still waiting for a Leech bet. And like I said, it's already moved 150 cents. So we hope to see it. Another bet on this one that is not on the money line was a bet on the under. We took a decent sized wager on the under here, which I thought was interesting at plus 160. Okay. 1.5 plus 160.
Hey, I don't mind that one bit. I mean, I know the Leech hasn't been knocked out, but there's all the health issues. He's older now, and he's taking on a guy that only knocks people out. So I don't mind a violence bet here in this fight. That's not bad at all. All right, guys. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Main card time. Hey, we've got over 400 live viewers. If you guys would do me a favor and share the show out, hit the like button, please do that. We got to thank our guy Andrew in Superbook Sports for spending time with us and sharing some knowledge and information. So make sure you're showing some love to them as well. Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho, my man, is a minus 240, minus 250 favorite here. I've already made my intentions clear. I'm rocking one more time, rolling with the boy himself. We're going Tuivasa at home on Saturday. He's going to get back on the horse here on this one. But tell me, I'm not sure if there's anybody on that island with me, if I'm sharing margaritas with anybody, or if it's just me in a hammock.
This is one we kind of have booked a little bit differently. I've kind of wanted to see where people were at with Rozenstruik, because I know I've seen a lot of love for Rozenstruik online, but right now we're actually sitting a little bit under the market on Rozenstruik. We opened up at 155 on Rozenstruik. It's sitting 210, but like you said, there's 240s out there. It's a little bit higher out in the marketplace. So I'm trying to see if there's some respected action behind this Rozenstruik movement. I know that day of there is going to be people who want to bet Tuivasa. He's a popular fighter. So we know that money is going to come down. To be honest, this one wouldn't shock me if the number came down a little bit just based off of that liability building up day of. So yeah, we have gotten some Rozenstruik action, but nothing overly respected. So this is one we're definitely keeping our eye on, because I'm kind of surprised he's this big of a favorite, honestly, for sure.
Okay. Hey, I'm right there with you. That's why I bet the Tuivasa side. I know that's the fun public side, but going 0-4, most people aren't going to keep going back to that well. So I think this is kind of the buy low spot where everyone's ready to leave him for dead. I'll ride one more time. I'll do it one more time. Let's go. Come on, Ty. Don't let me down. Mateus Gamrot and Daniel Hooker, another minus 350 favorite here. This is the one that I kind of mentioned earlier, man. We were talking about the weight cuts and the turnaround, the hydration. This is the guy who we've seen tire out from grappling and being all gas, no brakes before. I worry a little bit about Mateos if he's not able to rehydrate the way he needs to. Dan Hooker is always a very, very game guy. So if he's going to come in here and take on an opponent who might get tired, who might not be fully hydrated, I have not pulled the trigger yet on a dog, but it feels like this line's a little bit wide, man. What do you see here?
Yeah, I have a few things to report for sure for this fight. This is an interesting one, and the book could not be happier out of any fight. If we could get a dog on this one, it would be massive for the book for sure. We opened this one up at 220 on Gamrot. It has continued to steam. We're sitting 370 here. We did take one bigger bet on Hooker as this thing has moved up, but we did take a couple of very, very big parlays. Gamrot being one of the legs in that, tied with one of the fighters in the main event. So
makes sense.
Yeah, this is one. If we could get any of the dogs, this would be the one we need. So I hope you're right. We're rooting for Hooker big time. I don't necessarily feel great because I know how Gamrot fights. He just wins minutes by controlling, and but hopefully the weight variable is something like you said this week. And then one more thing we had on this fight was a pretty respected bet on the over, laying 230, which was not surprising. I mean, that's kind of how his fights go. If he's going to win, he's probably going to win a decision, right? So, yeah, that's what we got for this fight. We're looking for Hooker here.
All right. Everybody's cheering for a Hangman upset. Man, out of most of those guys out of City Kickboxing, I think Hooker might be the one who's got the best chance to do it. So I might find my way to a little dart throw here on Dan Hooker to see if this one goes well. Co-main event, Kai Kara-France and Steve Erceg. I just moved in on this one, man. Kai Kara-France as a big underdog. There's been a lot of love for Kai Kara in this spot. I feel like Steve's getting a little overlooked. There is that narrative of coming off of a title shot loss that's been circulating a bunch here in this spot, but I think people are just underestimating my Astro boy. I laid minus 160 on Erceg. It dropped all the way down to like minus 155 just actually a couple minutes ago this morning. It's already back up to about minus 165 at this point. So very interesting, kind of getting a little bit of resistance down here at this number. I feel like I'm buying low at the right time, man. What do you see on this fight?
Yeah, this is a fun one, man, because I know there's a lot of strong opinions on this fight. Erceg opened up at $2. We're currently sitting 165. While it was sitting $2, we did take a very large respected bet. And recently, like I've said, we've done some changing to some of the limits, and we're trying to write some more handle on these fights. So it was a pretty large wager, and we got to respect it. So I think that's why you kind of see the market coming down. But there's a balance, right? Because you know that favorite money is going to come in day of. So you don't want to be dead needing Kai Kara-France, and then day of you're even in a worse spot because now people are hammering the favorite even more, you know? So it's one where we have to respect the sharp action, but I know most of the guys in the back still think Erceg's going to win. So it's kind of a weird one for us. But yeah, currently we need Erceg, but yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. I'm not going to be shocked either way. I think the money is going to be coming in pretty hot on Erceg tomorrow.
You know, it's pretty interesting, man. I think a lot of people are expecting some breakage of these parlays. Some of these underdogs are going to bark this week, and I totally get that. I just don't think it's this one. You know, a lot of people are ready to line up on a lot of these extremely sketchy favorites. People have underrated my boy Steve Erceg since he made it to the UFC. No one thought he was going to win his first couple fights. No one thought he was going to be in that title fight. This man was one poor decision away from having gold wrapped around his waist. This could be a co-main event championship fight where they gave Kai Kara the shot against the champion if he had just made one better choice in that fight. So yeah, give me Astro Boy. I think this is a cheap price tag. He should have been the favorite all along. I love this spot. I was just waiting for the number to crash to get involved. All right, guys. Main event time. Dricus du Plessis taking on Israel Adesanya. And unless my eyes deceive me, it looks like this line might be flipping right in front of our eyes. What's going on over there, man?
Dude, this has been probably the most entertaining pay-per-view main event just based off of the price alone that I can remember in a while, because you don't usually get picks on these kind of fights. So we opened this one up in 2023 before Izzy lost to Strickland. So I'll just give you the price back then. Izzy was minus 260 when we opened that potential bout way back then. Obviously, when he lost, it shifted a ton. But about a month and a half ago, when they announced the fights and we got all these fights up, it opened at a pick. It's bounced around maybe 10, 15 cents each way. But it just keeps landing back on a pick. Currently, we're sitting Duplessis minus 115. I would say we are looking to need Duplessis for sure in this spot, because a majority of the respected action early has been on that side. But man, this one's a lot of fun because it does feel like just a coin flip, and you're just getting really strong opinions on both sides. And yeah, I'm expecting some big Izzy money tomorrow. Currently, we need Izzy because I told you about that Gamrot parlay. That was a massive parlay, and it was a two-teamer between Gamrot and Duplessis. So currently, we need Izzy, but tomorrow I'm expecting some big-time Izzy love for sure.
That might be different by the time the fight kicks off, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. One more thing we had on this, we did get a very large wager on the under, which I thought was interesting as well.
I like that.
So they're looking for some violence in this spot for sure.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the perfect storm, man, of Israel Adesanya, just known for going the distance. And in this fight, he's taking on a very, very violent fighter that I think he's going to have to be in there fighting for his life. If he's going to win, it's probably a finish rather than kind of pointing at this guy. Dricus don't sit on the outside. Dricus is not going to let you jab him for 25 minutes. That ain't happening. So I do think we're going to get a bit of a car crash. I'm looking at playing the under myself. I'm already invested in the Dricus Duplessis side, man. I've been betting this guy nonstop for the last couple of years, and he just keeps on cashing for me. Why wouldn't I go back to the well? It feels incredible having plus money on that side when this line might actually be flipping to favorite. It's all dried up and gone at this point. So fingers crossed my guy Dricus can hold that belt. I got to ask, though, what do you think about Dricus making both Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya cry? What do you make of that?
Dude, I'm going to have to go back because that was at like 3 a.m. my time. And I was just woke up and just saw an influx of pictures of Izzy crying. And I was like, what is going on? So I don't even know what it stemmed from. What was he talking about, his dog or something? What happened?
You know what? I couldn't figure it out. I put a tweet out about it, like asking people to like kind of fill me in because Izzy has made this fight extremely personal. And I still can't figure out what Dricus ever said or did to him that has caused him to be so riled up, because Dricus has always been kind of a middle of the road trash talker. Like, he doesn't talk about your family or your background. He talks about you. He talks about your skill set. He says he's going to beat you. He's that kind of guy. So he's never said anything that should trigger Izzy, but Izzy's got some vendetta against him. And then Izzy started going off about, like, you don't know my story, man. Like, you don't know where my family's been. And all he said was, I don't care about your family. He's like, I don't care about your story. Like, that's all he said. And then Izzy like went off the handle and started crying. I'm like, you know what, man? Sometimes it's tough to read into the mental state of fighters, but that made me very happy to be on the Dricus side. Like, if I'm holding an Izzy ticket and he's up there crying about his mom before a title fight, I'm like, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I'll just say that.
I hear you. No, that was definitely different. It's going to be, if he ends up losing, I'm sure that will be like a Jordan type meme for a while, for sure.
Probably so. But hey, like I said, man, 2-0 opponents crying on stage with him. So my man's got a lead for sure. The mental game of Dricus apparently is reaching McGregor levels here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, man. Thank you for giving us a little bit of info from across the desk. If you guys have not heard, this is Superbook Sports. It's my guy Andrew over there. He does a lot of the risk management there in Vegas. So make sure you support them for sharing their time and info with us. My man, do you guys have any, boosts or specials or anything you want to tell the people about before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned, and I'm sure you guys have seen if you kept up with Superbook, there's been some changes. But if you're in Vegas and you're looking to make a decent sized wager, feel free to come over to the Superbook. I believe we offer very fair splits, and we are looking to take some wagers on the UFC. I think we're going to do something interesting with this main event day of. I think we're going to try to change it to maybe a 10-cent line, so make it a little bit more fair for the customers, because you usually, like I said, you usually don't get a pick 'em in this type of fight. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this card and to see how much handle we can take on this type of fight. So yeah, I'm really excited, man. And thanks for having me on again.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for the time. It's always a pleasure to do the show with you. Thank you guys all for watching. The weigh-ins, like I mentioned at the top of the show, they haven't happened yet, guys. And so we've got the real weigh-ins and the ceremonial weigh-ins both happening this afternoon. So because of that, I'm going to be doing a late show for you guys. The Undefeated Post weigh-in show is not going to be going live immediately after. I've got some stuff going on. It's going to be a tonight thing, so I apologize for it being late. But just so you guys know, that's the deal. That's what's going to happen. I will upload it as soon as humanly possible so you guys get the info that you need from me. I'll bring the tinfoil cap as well. But good luck on all your degenerate action out there, you guys. Kick some ass. Bet on some PFL today. Have some fun. Let's roll.